Hello mathematicians, we are starting lesson 5 and we are stepping up our solving skills by a notch. We are going to be seeing equations that have variables on both sides of the equal sign. So your objective will be that at the end of this lesson you will be able to solve a one variable equation with variables on both sides. Go ahead and pause the video and write down this step-by-step checklist or direction. Step first. Make sure that each side of the equal sign is fully simplified. So when we fully simplify is PEMDAS, usually, with a few exceptions. Just like English, math has a few exceptions every once in a while. Step 2 is to move all of the variables to one side of the equal sign. It doesn't matter left or right, but whatever side you choose, you need to move the constants to the other side. So this is when we start our solving steps, and remember solving is SADMEP, which is PEMDAS backwards, and we use inverse or opposite operations. All right, so anytime you're simplifying, you are simplifying using the operations that are clearly written, that are clearly visible, but for solving, that is when we use those opposite operations. So instead of add, we subtract, instead of multiply, we divide, and vice versa. Once you get a solution, make sure to check the solution. So the checking the solution would be back to PEMDAS. Okay, so that means going in our specific order, working from the inside out, whereas solving is working from the outside in. All right, let's look at this. So I see I have an in on the left, I have an in on the right. So this falls right in line with what we are looking at today, variables on both sides. You have two options. You can move all of your variables to the left, or you can move your variable to the right. So I always like to have positive variables. So I'm going to actually move my negative in to the right side. Again, it doesn't matter which one you choose, but when we move it as a whole group. So we're moving it through addition or subtraction. Since this is a minus n, I'm going to add in to both sides. So negative n plus n is 0. Bring that 1 down, bring your equal sign down. And now we add this up. 2n plus 1n would be 3n, and bring that plus 13 down. And it is a two-step equation at this point. We will almost always hit this two-step mark. So this part should be fairly automatic. We want to move the constant over. 1 minus 13 would be a negative 12. Bring that 3n down, and now we're going to separate the 3 and the n. We're going to divide by 3 on both sides, and negative 12 divided by 3 would be a negative 4. But before we sign off on that being the correct answer, let's check. And we have 1 minus parentheses equals 2 parentheses plus 13. And what do we believe n is? We believe n is negative 4. 1 minus a negative 4 would be 1 plus 4. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8 plus 13. So 1 plus 4 is 5. And 13 minus 8, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 would be a positive 5. That is true, so therefore our solution is correct. All right, so I found an n on the left, I found an n on the right, but notice that on the left-hand side, I also have a constant of 4 and a constant of negative 5. So the left side of the equal sign is not fully simplified. We need to do that first because that is step 1. 4 plus a negative 5 would be negative 1. We still have that negative 2n equals, and then there was nothing to simplify on this side. So it just stays exactly the same. Now this problem looks really similar to our first example. We're going to choose a side to send the variable to. Again, I always like to have a positive variable, so I'm going to send this negative 5 to the left, because when I send that negative 5 over, I'm going to add 5 in, and that's going to make that a positive value. So I bring down that negative 1, negative 2 plus 5 would be a positive 3n. Negative 5n plus n is 0, which was our goal because we want all of our variables together. And now it's a two-step equation. We want all of our constants together. So the constant with the variable is that -1. The opposite of -1 would be a +1. Bring down 3 in. -1 plus 1 is -6. We have one final step now. We need to separate the 3 in the n. 3 is being multiplied to n, so the opposite would be division. Divide by 3 on both sides, and n equals -2. But until we mark that off as being correct, let's check our work. So we have 4 minus 2 parentheses minus 5 equals -5 parentheses minus 7. So you can see how our check steps become more important because now we don't just have a singular number over there. So we're going to throw in a -2 in those parentheses because that's what we believe in equals. -2 times -2 is +4. -5 times -2 is +10. 4 plus 4 is 8. 10 minus 7 is 3. 8 minus 5 is 3. And 3, in fact, does equal 3. So therefore, our solution is the correct solution. All right, this is fun. This is when math gets fun. Solving equations, you're figuring out the puzzle. This is definitely one of my favorite parts. So there's nothing to simplify on the left. 6r and 8 cannot be combined together, so we're just going to keep that exactly the same. But on the right-hand side, we do have some like terms. We have multiple like terms, actually. We have a +3 and a -4. Those are constants. We can add them together. They are the same type of number. 3 plus a -4 is -1. And we also have a +r and a -2r. So since they have the same variable raised to the same power, they are like terms and we can combine through addition or subtraction. R plus a -1 plus a -2 would be a -1. So just say -r, -1r if it makes you feel better. And now I'm going to move all of my constants over. So again, it doesn't matter which side we choose, but I personally always like to have a positive variable. So anytime I can make that happen, that's what I'm going to do. 6r plus r would be 7r. Bring down that -8. Bring down that -1. We haven't done anything with them yet. -r plus r would be 0. And now we've hit that two-step equation mark. And this is when we start to see that and we're like, oh, 8 is the constant. I need to move that over. Am I adding or subtracting? I would be adding in this case. Bring down 7r. -1 plus 8 is 7. And now we're going to separate the 7 and the r. 7 and r being multiplied. So the opposite of multiply would be divide by 7. And r equals 1. A lot of times people get confused when we have the same numbers divided together. 7 divided by 7 is 1. It is not 0, which is the case in all of these examples. When you have that variable number, we get a 1 there. We don't get a 0. Before we stamp off on this being correct, let's check. So we have 6 parentheses minus 8 equals 3 plus parentheses minus 4 minus 2 parentheses. And we believe that r is 1. So we have 3 places to put 1 in because we had 3 places where there was a variable. 6 times 1 is 6, minus 8 equals 3. Actually, we can go ahead and combine that because there's nothing being multiplied. So 3 plus 1 is 4, minus 4, -2 times 1 is -2. 6 minus 8 would be -2. 4 minus 4 is 0, and 0 minus 2 is -2. That is a true statement. -2 and -2 are the same number. That means our solution is correct. Last but not least, just because we talked about the distributive property in the last lesson doesn't mean that we can forget about it as we move forward. So as we move forward, all of these lessons start to combine together. So let's look at this. We must first fully simplify both sides. That was step 1. On the left-hand side, it's not fully simplified because we have that distribution that we need to do. 5 times 5 in, 5 times 5 is 25 m. 5 times 6 is 30, and then that still equals negative 39 plus 2m. We have no like terms to combine together, so now we get into our solving steps, and our solving steps are using the opposite operation to move our variables over. So again, I could move the 25 to the right, but that would make it negative, so I'm going to move the 2m to the left. And again, notice that when we're moving the variable, we're moving it as a group. That's why we're adding and subtracting. We are not separating the coefficient in the variable yet. The separation happens through division or multiplication. We are moving it as a whole group. So 25m minus 2m would be 23m. Bring down that positive 30. Bring down that negative 39, and 2m minus 2m would be 0, which is our goal. We want to zero it out. We want to start combining stuff together. So now it is a 2-step equation. We got to move that constant first. And as I look at this left-hand side where my variable is, 30 is the constant. So I'm going to subtract 30 from both sides. Bring down 23m. 30 minus 30 is 0, which is our goal always. Negative 39 plus a negative 30. Same sign. Add the numbers. Keep the signs. We get a negative 69. And our final step is now we are going to separate the coefficient and the variable. So that 23 and that m are now going to be pulled apart through division. And 23 would go into 69 3 times, but it is a negative divided by a positive, so it is a negative 3. Before we give that negative 3 a stamp of approval, let's check. All right, so inside the parentheses, because now we're simplifying, we work from the inside out. So 5 times a negative 3 is negative 15 plus 6 equals negative 39 minus 6. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Inside the parentheses, we can simplify that. Negative 15 plus 6 would be a negative 9. Multiply 5 times negative 9 would be a negative 45. And negative 39 minus 6, same sign, add the numbers, keep the sign, it would be negative 45. Since negative 45 and negative 45 are the same number, our solution is correct. So we can put that stamp of approval. Don't forget to go and find 2 examples. Don't forget to tell me where you find those examples. Do a couple practice problems, and let's get those mastery checks taken. As always, happy mathing. If you have any questions, make sure you're asking.